Thank you, John, for your introduction, and it's really wonderful to be back in Athens again after a few years and a pandemic in between. My name's Lorraine Higgins, as John said, and I'm Secretary General and founder of Digital Business Ireland. So just pre-pandemic, I had made a decision to walk away from my consulting job to start something that I was really passionate about, and that's an e-commerce association in Ireland. At the time, nobody could have foreseen what was coming down the tracks a little more than a couple of months later. But in any case, we thought we were going to have to go out and convince people that they wanted to sell online. But the pandemic obviously helped us enormously in that regard. For the purposes of today, I'm just going to be talking about e-commerce trends. I'm going to be talking about the evolving consumer behaviour. I'm going to be talking as well about the huge global opportunity that exists out there for businesses of all sizes. A lot of businesses we find that we represent are solely focused on internal markets, on their own geographic locality, and don't look beyond it. But we have to recognise our ability to be exporters right across the globe. We'll also be focusing on some of the key takeaways from my presentation over the course of the next 10 minutes or so. So first off, let's look at the facts and figures when it comes to online shoppers. 2.1 billion online shoppers in 2021. Just think of that in terms of capacity, for you as a business to be able to sell to a whole new market. $994 billion is spent on cross-border purchases in 2020. So let's have a look at a map shortly, and it'll show you the huge capacity that there is out there to really seize that opportunity. 81% of global e-commerce sales increase in May 2020 versus 2019. $5 trillion is the estimated global e-commerce sales from last year, and it's expected to be replicated again this year. And it's expected to increase by 50% right up to 2025, which is just incredible. So as I said, looking at the global map in terms of what's out there and with cross-border buyers, you can see in Canada, 67% of online purchasers buy right across the border. Predominantly, that's obviously in the United States, but in the United States, 32% spend online and buy off companies outside of the US. Germany, that figure is 23%. Poland, that figure is 54%. Japan, it's 14%, a little lower. But look at Australia, 69%, just incredible. New Zealand, 80%. So the huge advantages that are out there for businesses in Greece include obviously those figures, but also looking at shoppers that are buying cross-border really focus on increasing their cart sizes because they realise, here's an opportunity, we're going to be spending money anyway, delivery costs will remain pretty much the same. So the figure of the average shopping cart value increase is 70%. And then there's half of the return rates as well when people buy cross-border. That's one of the biggest challenges to businesses today. A lot of returns that consistently come back as a result of people buying in bulk and then not wanting the products that they purchase. And that's obviously a huge cost to businesses too. That's lessened as a result of cross-border sales. So we did an insight series at Digital Business Ireland over just at the end of the pandemic and earlier this year to get a sense of where consumers' minds were so that we could help some of our members, focus their operations where they needed to be. Basically, we did this in conjunction with a company called Ireland Thinks. That's one of the leading polling companies in Ireland, and they typically look at a panel of about 30,000 every time they go to the market. We got some really cracking insights in terms of patriotic purchasing, in terms of sustainability, and also we leveraged some of the information that we have from one of our partners, DHL, which I'll share with you in a moment, and their stats obviously relate to delivery. So we all know in e-commerce and anybody that operates in the space that shoppers are typically less loyal, but that changed a little over the pandemic, and I'll show those details in a moment. I don't know about Greece, but in Ireland, cybersecurity is a major issue. We have been subjected to quite a number of cyber breaches in our health service and in other private companies over the course of the last couple of years. And as a consequence of that, consumers are really careful about who they share their information with. And obviously now there's been a substantial move to m-commerce for the purposes of purchasing goods and products online. And that means that it's really incumbent on online retailers to ratchet up their cybersecurity software and ensure that they have proper trust services and products on their site, like Trustpilot. Also, consumers prefer to pay in local currency. So if you're selling cross-border, it's having that capacity on your website. And then speed of delivery it's an issue that trumps all else for the most part. So here's the evidence in terms of what consumers are looking for. In Ireland, and as I said, these statistics just pertain to my country, 38% of consumers are set to increase their online spend in 2022. 40% of those earning between 50 and 80,000 a year will increase their online spend. And then just 2% of high income earners, those earning over 80,000, will reduce their online expenditure this year. Obviously, financial independence is something that is great, but the problem with people who have financial independence is that they're not time rich. So that's why online shopping benefits them. So when it comes to your digital marketing strategies, having that in mind is a really key thing. Patriotic purchasing. We know in Ireland that 2/3 of all of our online spend left the country pre-pandemic. So that was 14 million of 21 million every single day left Ireland, and they were cross-border purchases by consumers across the member states, but predominantly America and China as well. That was obviously a huge loss, not only to Irish businesses, but also to the Irish Exchequer in terms of VAT and other taxation. However, over the course of the pandemic, what we saw was a huge fallback in the number of people purchasing of businesses outside of Ireland. And it was essentially, there was an equilibrium based on a tipping point report that we issued along with our client company, .ie, who are the custodians of the Irish Domain Registry. And we found that 50% purchase off Irish businesses, which was great to see. However, in 2022, that means the last quarter, 27% of consumers make a conscious effort to buy off Irish businesses, which is a really regretful trend. So what we've seen is a peak in terms of that patriotic purchasing over the pandemic, and now a fallback again. So we have been really pushing our government in Ireland to do something more about this issue, because what we have seen over the course of the last while is a lot of the supports that have been provided by government have been really focused on getting businesses to digitise. That's clearly not fit for purpose anymore, given the huge numbers that we're forced to over the course of the pandemic. So what we're really trying to push the government to do is recognise fully the export potential of the retail industry in Ireland. There are supports in place, granted, but they're for larger enterprise type retailers. But also that they need to recalibrate support. So we used to have a digital trading online voucher of anything between €2,500 and €10,000 to pay for the costs of a website. Clearly, at this point in time, with all the numbers that have websites and have to have websites, that's no longer suitable. So what we're asking government to do, based on the insights research and the information coming back to us, is that they now focus on paying for trust services, paying for cybersecurity tools for those businesses that are on a micro and small level, but also to give them an opportunity to have a fund or a voucher for digital marketing purposes. Because again, if anything that's bad for the SMEs in Ireland is also obviously bad for the government in terms of tax take. I think our research in terms of sustainability has really been an eye-opener for us, because obviously the agenda and the digital agenda really enables, a more sustainable practices from consumers, but obviously consumers are way behind in this regard, and there's a huge amount of effort that has to be gone to both by businesses and by policymakers to try and drive the sustainability agenda. So as you can see there, in Ireland, less than 1 in 5 consumers consider the sustainability credentials of the online business that they're purchasing from. 25% of respondents aged 55 and up always prioritise sustainability. Who knew? Everybody would have said that older people would be less conscious about the environment. It wasn't something that was really a focus for them. But our research has turned that narrative on its head, and it's now showing that they're the ones that are interested in the sustainability agenda. So where there's digital marketing efforts being made around that theme, obviously, needing to recalibrate where you're focusing and what age group was really important. There's a little typo in the next point that's here. It's actually 17% of millennials and Gen Zs prioritise sustainability when shopping online. So despite the Greta Thunberg element and the focus on all the great work that she has been doing, it's not resonating with this cohort. So the next step, obviously, is trying to bridge that gap between businesses' ambitions and policymakers, and also with public attitudes. We're trying to push government to have a dedicated national campaign because they're ratcheting up their objectives over the course of the next while, and it's important that everybody is aligned to try and achieve our 2050 targets. But they need to incentivise customers, both businesses and government, in order to ensure that they play along with the sustainability. Delivery is obviously key here, and I'm glad to see DHL are showcasing here at this conference today, because these statistics come from them and they're a partner of ours in Ireland. A lot of young people and millennials and Gen Zs are obviously focused on delivery now, not having to wait, having a reliable supplier. So as you can see from some of these statistics, 91% of consumers look for the available delivery options before they get to their checkout. So having information like that on your website to try and enable you sell more is crucial. 58% of global consumers would choose a retailer solely because of their delivery options. 30% of shoppers would choose a retailer who offer a premium or next day delivery. 50% of shoppers would choose to abandon carts because of limited shipping options. And then twice as many customers are twice as likely to return to a retailer after a positive delivery experience, with 66% of online shoppers checking the retailer's returns policy before making a purchase, and 58% abandoning their shopping cart because of higher than expected shipping costs. And again, 70% of online shoppers would choose to prepay local deliveries and customs at checkout. So instead of just using your delivery partner for that purpose, also ensuring that there's customs and all those taxation issues are taken care of in advance is key. So next steps for businesses is offer international shipping, because this is really, really key for the purposes of selling cross-border and making it seamless and simplified for any online consumer. Offering a range of shipping options, including express and flexible delivery options as well. Providing full tracking services is important too, because that's what everybody wants to know when they're purchasing online. Is their order going to be fulfilled? Will the order be handed over to a delivery service? And will it be delivered within the usual delivery times that are expected? All of these things are really, really necessary, because again, it comes back to one of the main items I mentioned at the start. Loyalty is something that's starting to lack again, despite the pandemic and people really focused on supporting their local businesses. That's now all changed again. And it's these issues like loyalty and cybersecurity and trust that gives you the edge as an online merchant. So being prepared for the online journey and being able to sell cross-border, here are some elements that need to be taken care of. Localizing your offering, ensuring that you have payments capacity for international payments. Customer care is key as well. Sometimes that's overlooked in terms of people trying to get online and businesses focusing on what they need to do. Logistics, talent, also having the taxation and legal aspects understood. But also looking at this checklist. I know I'm running out of time, John, and it's time to get off the podium. But in any case, if you can just read some of those essential elements to ensure that you're ready to go. So cross-border e-commerce is certainly a lucrative opportunity, regardless of company size. Customers' buying habits have changed and will continue to evolve, and there's a secure and dependable logistics partner is absolutely crucial, as is building trust and loyalty. Thank you.